everybody? Zach Kyleman here, as always, welcoming you in to the latest edition of 4th and 4. It is Week 15 in the NFL. Things are really coming down to the wire more and more each week. We actually, as we're going to talk about in a second, have some clinched divisions we got to talk about too, and we'll get to plenty of other stuff, including some history that was in the making just yesterday. Let's bring on everybody in here to the studio. As you may know, full cast in for the lineup this week. We have Kelcey, DJ from the High Low Sports Podcast, and of course my good buddy from Inside the Walls here, Jim Meunier. Fellas, welcoming you into the studio. How we all doing? Yesterday, history was made. I don't know, DJ was kind of happy about it for some reason, but can we get at least some preliminary stuff before we jump in?
Yeah. I'm surprised you keep saying that about Jim. Like, it sounds like we don't love Jim or either. Like, he's like my good friend. Like we don't like Jim at all.
Look, I'm just diversifying the shows. That's all I'm.
Diversifying the portfolio.
Diversifying the portfolio.
Nah, it's good. It's good to be here. Holidays coming up next week, so yeah, not a bad time to be on the show.
Tis the season.
Tis the season as usual. Not for the Colts, unfortunately, but yeah.
Well,
it is for DJ.
It is the season of giving, by the way. So, look, that contest, both get what they want. Some Colts fans, like, for example, DJ, he wants the better pick. He just had to sweat it out. things went in a certain direction, and bing bang boom. We have a 33-point comeback on our hands, and bang. Yeah, yesterday, if you were living under a rock, the Minnesota Vikings came into halftime down 33-0. Most games, most contests, you'd say, all right, I got to go work on something else in my house. I think I can catch up later after garbage time. But this is the Minnesota Vikings, after all, a team that, much like the Elway Broncos of the 80s, love to ride the fine line and give people a little bit more stress on their heart to get them to die at a younger age, because this is what the Vikings have become at this point. And so, sure, 33 points, no problem, except it's never been done until yesterday with the Vikings themselves coming from behind, going into overtime 36-all. And, coming down to the wire, Greg Joseph kicks the game-winning field goal, 39-36. People go crazy. Everyone's looking over Jeff Saturday's crew and going, excuse me, what just happened? And here we are. First off, how do we break this down? The Vikings get, by the way, the NFC North crown because of this win, so props to them. They finished things off finally after delaying a week against Detroit. What do we make of the Vikings anymore? I think a lot of people look at this. They're comeback kids, but comebacks add to the reputation of questioning the legitimacy of how powerful this team is. Where do you place them here right now? Or do you just want to rationalize the fact that we saw a 33-point comeback in the NFL happen?
Yes. Well, when you play a JV team, it's expected. So the fact that they got down 33-0 is more concerning than the fact that they scored 30. They went on a 36-3 run, because you should have started the game up 36-3 instead. So yes is the answer. Is pretty much, as Kelcey alluded to, the answer is yes to both questions.
Yeah, like, you look at this game, man. It was just, honestly, what sport were we watching? Because I don't think we were watching American football. I don't think we were watching soccer. It wasn't hockey. Like, I feel like they invented some new sport of how bad can you suck without sucking to make yourself look good in the second half. Like, I felt like we were just playing a different game. They're like, the Vikings, we all know the talent they have. They showed it in the second half, but what were you doing in the first half? Like, where is Justin Jefferson in the first half? Where's TJ Hawkinson? TJ Hawkinson had 0 points through the first half in fantasy football. Like, nothing. He had one target through the first half. It was awful. Like, what are you doing? You brought him over to try to, and boost up your receiving cores. If it weren't for KJ Osborne, that team probably honestly loses this game, just because, thank God, he scored in the first half. Because otherwise, yeah, you lose this game. I don't know. Does this just continue to show how mid Kirk Cousins really is? Like, he can't do it for a whole game, but you know what? He can do it for a half and a overtime period. Like, that's all. That's what I feel like. And by the way, barely doing it in the overtime period. Thank goodness for their defense being able to stop an offense that is literally anemic. Because otherwise, they don't. Yeah, this is fair enough.
Yeah, and not to mention they went 33 down even after Jonathan Taylor exited early in this contest. By the way, Zach Moss thought he had a decent effort. I give Moss credit. He had times there were some decent runs there, but nonetheless, other factors, mediocrity got in the way, is what I put it as.
I'll let Jim talk before I go on my diet. I'll let Jim go before I go on my diatribe. But Jim, you can go first.
I don't. When people say that if you have a choking issue, you call the ER or someone next to you. Matt Ryan, I think may have to be on some, like as someone needs to be hired to watch him at home now, seeing that he is now part of the two biggest choke jobs in NFL history, the Super Bowl and this one. I feel bad for the guy. I feel bad for his wife. I was like, oh no, hopefully he doesn't come back at the house. May actually have to call the FBI and CIA. But yeah, for the Colts, DJ said in his in this chat, if you're going to tank, don't tank like this. Just tank to start the game. Don't, toy with the emotions of the Colts fans, because their slim chance of a playoffs, I think, have been dashed. I think they had to win this game no matter what to stay involved. But I feel bad for Matt Ryan. I really do. 2 choke jobs. And the problem is, that's not Tom Brady on the other side of the field. You lost to what Kelcey just mentioned, the definition of mid.
So I'll admit, going through at least in the third quarter, it's like, okay, maybe they're making a small comeback, but I still thought the Colts were going to pull it off in one of these 2 drives, because it's Kirk Cousins in a primetime game, mind you. So I'm also leading into that as well. I know it's NFL Network, but they'll say nationally broadcast. You know that's going to be brought up.
That's fair.
A game you can't turn away from, basically. A game that you're forced to watch because there's no other alternative.
In Indianapolis,
I was watching. I mean, there was college football. You could have watched college football.
Who's really were watching that game? That was a blowout. That was Oregon State all over Florida at that time. So you got a shootout up in Minnesota, or the 30-0 game in Vegas.
My point was being that when we got to overtime, that you had two historical scenarios that could have happened that were coming to the wire. I personally wanted the other one because I wanted to have a really good laugh coming on. The other option was that no team has ever finished with 2 ties in a regular season since the possibility of ties were introduced into the NFL. So the Colts were roughly 1 minute away from history and a good stop at about the 40-yard line.
They were 11 seconds away from history. If they just learn how to properly delay the game and lay on Justin Jefferson there at the end, you lay on Justin Jefferson and you smack the ball away. You don't try to grab the ball. You don't grab Justin. You don't try to rip him back into the ground after he's on the ground. You just roll over and your arm stays on him like you're injured. And that way they have to call it, either they call a timeout, the referees do, because you have none left, or you slap the crap out of the ball and watch it fly down the field about 15 yards, because it's okay if you do that. As long as it goes out of bounds about 15 yards away, because then they have to get a new ball in. The clock's going to be ticking. That 11 seconds is down to 3 real fast. So what do? They're going to even try to clock it or run a play, and knowing Kirk Cousins, he's going to botch something there, and it would have been a tie just like that.
We were close. Yeah.
But, the Colts couldn't even do that right. The Fighting Jeff Saturdays can't do anything right now.
No. The struggling Jeff Saturdays.
Jim Irsay, I think I figured out Jim Irsay's plan in hiring Jeff Saturday. It was just an elaborate plan to be like, we're going to tank. The problem is he didn't realize that Jeff Saturday was going to encourage his team so much that they were actually going to look somewhat decent, so that couldn't get the top 10 pick. Couldn't get a top 5 picks. Now he's Jim Irsay's like, Jeff, I told you to tank. Then Jeff's like, dude, this is me tanking. What are you talking about? I'm just so inspirational.
Lose with some goddamn grace, Jeff.
And then the fourth quarter played, and they've been outscored 53-0 in the last 2 fourth quarters in overtime, with a bye week in between, nonetheless, as well too. You had a bye week in between, and you've been toasted by almost 60-0 in just fourth quarters alone. That's just. I think it's fair to say now the Jeff Saturday experiment should not continue into next year, and everybody on that staff should be fired. They need to restart everything from the ground up.
Like they showed up the points that they gave up in the second half in the first 10 games was 100 total points in the second half. In the last 2 games, over 60 points, not including the game they played today. How insulting is that? Like, what is going on? In what should have been a top 10 defense this year, what is happening? Obviously, the injuries are playing a part, but even before the injuries, this team didn't look good. Like, there's still something to be said. Like, there's coaching staff. Something has to happen there.
An adage old as time, 7 will always be greater than 3. And when you average 3 points every 15 minutes, it feels like you're probably going to lose most games, even if your defense only gives up like 20 points a game. If you can't even score 15, you're going to be in trouble as well, too. And if you're the Colts, scrap everything. Nobody's safe. Nobody gets to stay. Everybody's on the block. New head coach, new GM. This is what happens. You have an offense coordinator who's never caught plays before, a head coach that was fresh off of TV, a defense coordinator who calls cover 3 87% of the time. I think it's that we can go on and on about this, but it's an absolute mess. I could, but I won't take our entire show because there's a full elaborate 7-point breakdown about how they're going to fix this. But we don't have enough time in the show because we're not a 4-hour show. So we will wait on that. But I think we can all agree.
It's 4 hours will cover it. I feel like 1 hour per point might cover it.
Dude, this is a thesis paper. You probably could be writing this stuff up as we speak on the other side.
It's all right here. I don't even have to write it down. It's a capstone project all stuck in my noodle.
Let's be real. He probably already wrote it down.
If it's a free open session in the public, I am getting a chair.
Step 1, and we'll keep it quick and simple. Find a blank check and mail that thing to D'Amico Ryans ASAP to be the new head coach. Get that done immediately. Okay. Tell him, what do you want, my good friend? Return to the AFC South and come back. Here's your lifetime.
My brother.
What was that?
Return to me, my brethren.
Return to where you once terrorized as a middle linebacker for the Texans back when they were competent. Please return.
Come back to me.
Yeah.
I beg. I was going to give you this joke if they had won, DJ, because over the course of last week in my mind, I'm like, well, I could see the Titans collapsing as the season goes on, and the Jags have the Cowboys this week and then a reasonable schedule to end the season. The Colts, if they somehow got past Minnesota, also would still be on that pace. So if they had won today, I could have cracked the quip. Hey, playoff contention's still on the line, DJ.
I mean, you did say that they if they win that one, they rattle off 3 more victories, end up 8-8-1. They could have made the playoffs.
It's a fun idea in theory until you look at 3 of their 4 wins that come against the AFC West. How weird is that, too? Like, out of all the divisions to do good against the AFC West was the reason to think the Colts would struggle this year. But instead, those are the only teams they could beat with the Chargers still to come.
You get the Chiefs victory under your belt.
Got the Chiefs. You got surviving Denver and Russell Wilsonisms, and then the fighting Jeff Saturday's debut against what we have learned is a very, very incompetent Raiders team, especially in situations where they should blatantly win, a la Baker Mayfield on 48 hours and Jeff Saturday on 72 hours. So, you know what? Maybe they should just relocate to the AFC West because there's something about every other team they play that's not going well.
Every given Sunday, if it's an AFC West team.
Exactly. If it's any other team in the league, though, if it's an NFC East team, oh, Lord, turn around because it's always it's competitive early and then they choke late.
Well, that reset's coming pretty soon, I think. If that didn't solidify it today, as you said, then clearly Jim Irsay has gone back to maybe one too many things popping back at a bar, if you want.
Knowing Jim Irsay, they're going to keep Chris Ballard, keep Jeff Saturday, and draft a right guard at the 5th overall pick. And then trade for Derek Carr.
All this money we're hoarding away. We've hoarded it again. Look at us.
Or sign Baker Mayfield in free agency this offseason.
To a $100 million deal now.
So we found a quarterback contract.
They're going to sign another outside linebacker who only specializes in coverage.
Genius.
And a division that's
quarterback, but they'll take
a running division.
They'll take a quarterback in the second round, but it'll be Stetson Bennett. They'll trade up into the first round to get Stetson Bennett with an option. But we did it, guys. We drafted a first-round quarterback. Look at us.
You'll take Bo Nix.
Lordy. No.
Bo Nix or Stetson Bennett.
No. All right, I'm moving on. I've had it up to here.
Few people.
Stetson, best of luck to you, man. Maybe you
get the mailman in Indy. Oh, it'd be so fitting. It'd
be nice. And then you get Blankenship back, and then you have you just kind of cheese it. It's these two guys, these two goobers that you can advertise.
You know what? I'll need as long as
That's awfully nice to what you just said, Zach. You just called them goobers. That at least entails they have a lot of talent.
It's nice.
And can hit field goals over 45 yards.
Now that
over 35 yards.
Hey, thank God for McLaughlin, right?
Yeah. You know, at least it's a process considering he literally has to kick every single game at least 9 times because they cannot score whatsoever.
No, I'm afraid not.
Like,
Speaking
just
of
saying,
titles, by the way.
Just saying, Jim Mercy, if you need to hire new coaches, I will be the head coach for a fraction of what you will pay anybody else. You have shown it. You have taken sports media personalities under your wing as a head coach.
Here's your counsel.
It's a lateral move here. I mean,
you could hire the entirety of this show for under $4 million.
Probably.
And we'd all be happy.
I'll take my wins. I'll take my money per win with a
and you'd win more than 4 games. I guarantee you we'd win more than 4 games.
I got the offensive playbook stashed behind me real quick. I'll go take it out and we'll figure out how to make this mesh work.
We'll run Madden offensive plays. We'll run Madden defensive plays, but we'll actually make a combination of cover 2, cover 3, man, and some blitzes. Guys, wow, a blitz. Where does that come from, Indianapolis?
Whoa.
Like, it was novel concept.
Revolutionary.
You know what? Screw it. We're going to play field goal block every play.
I'm going to parlay that million so hard into my ideal small business of choice.
Just say personalities are your choice for head coach. We're fit right in. You have an offensive coordinator who is younger than some of the people on this show right now who would never call plays before. So give it a try. So what are we going to do? Run stick?
He is younger than me.
I think he's about my age too, maybe slightly older. Like, just saying that
they can't get any more. He's 31 but he's younger than me by like 6 months.
No, so either way, just saying you can't get any more goofy than this point. I mean, might as well give it a try.
Yeah, I could do better than running a halfback screen on 2nd and 3rd down and long.
Yeah, that
screen too vertical.
Not just I'm getting so tired of tunnel screens or quick screens that being
not just halfback screen, but halfback slip screen. Like the oldest of old school screens in the book. The old Marion Barber, get a guard, get a center out in front of you, and hope they do the job. But the answer is they can't do the job in today's modern NFL.
No, you're mentioning all the freaking Madden stuff, and I just find it funny. It's like they're going 5 wide, coach. What are we going to do? Blitz. We're going to do pump block. We're going to have one
man press, and send the house. Cover 0, ladies and gentlemen.
Where a 5-yard out route will go 95 yards for a touchdown.
Hey, you know what? It would look fun though. There would be bodies flying absolutely everywhere. And there'd be that one guy, that one defensive player that would do the Troy Polamalu, except for reverse. Instead of trying to rush the quarterback, he'd drop into coverage and get a pick every single time. And it'd be like, hey, there's our smart guy. He gets to stay on the field.
And our DBs have to glitch just like Madden, where they pick it off and they have to pick it off and run back 2 seconds backwards and then get tackled by the receiver. I hate that about Madden all the time.
Happens every time.
Intercepted. It runs the other way. It gets tackled. What the fuck?
Lost 10 yards on that, but I still got the ball.
I definitely need a Shaq Bear to signing. That would be great.
Well, I'm going to switch this bad boy up here. We got to talk about 2 division winners. So obviously Minnesota did their thing and did it their way.
Or Indianapolis did their thing.
Did it my way is what they sing. That wasn't very good. You don't know
that's
what
Kirk Cousins
probably
would sing.
Based on that. I did it my way. You like that as he goes into the press conference?
You at least sang it better than Kirk Cousins did.
Probably. Maybe not. I don't know. He has the change.
He's mid. He wouldn't be able to
rap it in a white boy style.
Well, he's mid. He can't change tones. He's just right there in the middle.
Consistent. I don't know. Maybe Brock Purdy can. I don't know. Look, we got it. It's a dumb transition, but here's the thing: the NFC West is now also finalized in terms of who is holding that crown. The San Francisco 49ers, under the leadership of Brock Purdy as well. No Deebo Samuel, but a massively dominant defense right now, one that's being highlighted or crowned as the best in the league at this moment. They got the job done, smothered the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle, came out like similar fashion to against the Bucs last week. Early lead, put them right down at their paces and just kind of cruised on to a win. Brock Purdy, 2 touchdowns in this one, which is the 3rd straight for him. It is actually a record for San Francisco quarterbacks. The first time a San Francisco QB has had 2+ TDs that is a rookie start in 3 straight starts, which is quite a feat, or at least it's the first time in some time it's been. Nonetheless, man's come out and played. How far can they go first off? Where is the 49ers' chances of getting at least a deep playoff run?
Can I answer this first?
Sure.
How far can they go? I know maybe a stickler on this. They can win the whole thing. Their defense is Denver's defense. Peyton Manning wasn't anything what he was like in his career when Denver won the Super Bowl. That defense shut everyone down. And Purdy's actually looked pretty decent. Like, he's not back there with a deer in the headlights. He's actually, when you have you got Chris McCaffrey back there, that's a good fail-safe. Like, he's not in a bad situation, and that defense is just suffocating opposing offenses. I see San Francisco. I look at that defense. I'm seeing Denver from a few years ago. Like, they have the defense to take it all to the house. And how the bracket's shaping up right now. Who are you going to get in the second round? Minnesota? Okay. Well, Cowboys? All right. You don't know what type of Cowboys team is going to show up in the playoffs. Is there an offensive explosion offense going to show up? Or is it, we're going to hopefully get 20 points. Maybe our defense gets a stop type of Cowboy team? Who's it out west? Excuse me. Who's in the NFC that can be, well, the Eagles are good, but the Eagles to me are just that team out in the NFC are like, they're good, but are they the 2008 Eagles? They were the 1 overall seed and they lost in the divisional round of the playoffs because they were very well inexperienced in the playoffs, but they did enough in their division. I don't know. San Francisco has the defense and they have the experience of last year. You remember last year they were a lower seed, wild card team, made it in the NFC Championship. They learn from that. In my opinion, they can win it all. They have the defense to do it. And Brock Purdy's not that bad.
No.
That's fair. I don't know. I'm still waiting for the shoes to fall, like the other shoe to fall for Brock Purdy. Like, this looks great. I thought it was going to be last week against Tom Brady. I was wrong. I thought it was going to be this week against the Seahawks. I was wrong. It's going to happen. We've watched too many times where a rookie quarterback gets off to a hot start and then all of a sudden the wheels fall off. And so you got to imagine it's going to happen. The question to me isn't so much, how well can he do down the playoffs? Because I'm just going to assume at this point in time that it's going to be down the stretch that he's going to fall apart, whether it be week 17, 18, or in round 1 against the Seahawks, which is likely going to be the team that they're playing right now if you look at the brackets. And again, can you beat that team 3 times in the season? That's always a tough question to answer to begin with. And then on top of that, like, how well can CMC do? How well can a team with maybe Debo doesn't get fully healthy by then? Without Debo, with CMC, Brandon Ayuk, can he continue the run he's on? George Kittle, obviously, I'm not worried about at all. Like, just give that man a ball and watch him run over people for 40 yards. He's going to do it. At this point in time, he'll block for you outstandingly. But if, let's say, he gets a knock, because he always gets a knock somehow near the end of the season, how well can he stay healthy? Obviously, Bosa and that defense looks great, but can they continue that trend? Obviously, as of now, they look great, but injuries do play a part in there. And it's funny because you look at this entire Niners team. What's the one commonality between all their big players right now? It's they're injury bitten. They're snake bitten when it comes to injuries, and that's just throughout their careers. Every single one of them seems to pick up a bad injury at some point in time in their seasons, and they miss those times. We haven't seen CMC pick up that big injury yet. Mm-hmm. We see Debo is now missing time with an injury. Bosa always misses time with an injury. Ward always misses time. And you just look at those guys missing time. George Kittle always misses time. Trent Williams always misses time every season. These guys haven't played. None of these guys have played a full season in probably, I'd say, 2 or 3 seasons at least combined between all of them. So I do worry that might play a part in how well the Niners do. And really, you have to answer the question: can they beat the Seahawks a 3rd straight time if they were to make the playoffs? And that's who they match up against. That's the first question they have to answer. Not even can they make it through the injuries. So I do appreciate what Brock Purdy's doing. It's an absolutely great storyline, but I'm pulling him out of the equation when I'm looking at this team in the playoffs, just because I don't know where he's going to be at in his career. Like, because like I said, we've seen it too many times where they just fall apart. But then again, we've also seen it where a rookie quarterback comes in and can stay hot for the long haul. So
Yeah.
We'll have
Now
to
I
wait and
will
see.
say one of your next big tests, and I'll let DJ follow piggyback off this, of course, and put on his takes. But I think you look at the remaining schedule here. Some of these are tune-up games. However, next week is another good one in terms of a stance of how good is your quarterback. It's Washington, the Commanders. That is one thing they have leaned on all year, bread and butter wise. Defensively, that is where it's at. They're getting Chase Young at least up and coming here soon. I don't know if it's in or not at this time, but nonetheless, even without Young, they have been a formidable opponent all season. That's more proof. But I do get
They
that
have to
sense
win.
that you have to wonder, is he ready for that moment? If you get you're going to get the playoff berth no matter what. You have that locked. Question is, can you get where you want in terms of the seeding? And then once you're in, can you live up to that moment in the playoffs?
I'll keep mine pretty quickly here as well, too. I'll start with, I think Nick Bosa's defense player of the year right now. He's been absolutely
15 and a
sensational.
half sacks for crying out loud,
Like Micah Parsons is still right there. It's a close conversation, but I'm still going to give it to Nick Bosa as of right now. That defense, as Jim mentioned, one of the best we've seen in recent memory, how they've been playing on this 6-game stretch. It's still crazy to think they lost to Denver. How long ago that was, too. The Fighting Russell Wilson's actually got a W over him. Granted, 3 months ago. And then the good news is if Brock Purdy does fall off the edge, Jimmy Garoppolo is supposed to be back before the playoffs. It looks like he didn't break that thing in his foot. And if we've learned anything, Jimmy Garoppolo can walk right off that bench, cold as ice, and come in and start slinging it. So I think there's still that potential ace in the hole. So when I look at the NFC, the only teams I see as a threat to them are, weirdly enough, the Eagles, because it's the Eagles. And I think the Cowboys, because we know what the Cowboys are capable of. It depends which stack you're going to get, though. Are you going to get
it's a natural rivalry, too.
Exactly. Are you going to get 8 picks in 8 games, Dak, or are you going to get fourth quarter against the Colts stack where all he has to do is basically flip it to Tony Pollard? And then that defense is one of the best at takeaways. So they could beat anybody, but at the same time, there are still plenty of questions. But all things considered, all things healthy, all things equal, the only team they should really worry about is the Cowboys and then the Eagles, because everybody has to be worried about the Eagles at this point.
And there's a chance that they may not even see both of them, because the Cowboys, I think, right now are currently the 5th team in the NFC.
Mhm.
So the Cowboys, they play the Bucs. If that's the playoff match, the Cowboys are going to torch them. So you're gonna have Philly, and Dallas in the divisional round. So, and I like Niners more against the Vikings than I do the Eagles at this point. But I'm not sold on the Eagles right now.
They'll toast the Vikings. Like Nick Bosa will he'll throw Kirk Cousins around. Like those chains will wear him down. And Nick Bosa will be all over that backfield.
Because right now,
let's be honest, the Vikings are the biggest paperback in the NFC.
Because right now the Niners are 1 game back of the Vikings in the standings for the 2 seed. But I honestly think the Niners are clearly the second best team in the NFC at this point. It's again the loss.
I'd say third best team in the NFC. Yeah.
You got the Cowboys above the Niners?
I unfortunately would say the Cowboys, just going off a record and their performances, I think the Cowboys still hold that candle. I mean,
so when the Cowboys are firing off all cylinders, they're legit a top 3 team in the league, in my opinion. But the Cowboys have their moments, like how San Francisco had their moments against Denver this year. Like, really, we know it's the NFL, but come on, like you're supposed to torch freaking Denver. Hopefully that top 3 team doesn't show up this weekend in Jacksonville, but
so we're all in agreement. So we're all in agreement. The Vikings don't really scare anybody for no other reason than they have a negative point differential on the season despite 11 wins.
Justin Jefferson scares me.
Yeah, but the Vikings as a whole don't scare anybody.
Well, yeah, right. Well, it's funny that they came into the week with a -1. Now they have a +2.
Oh, excuse me.
I know, right? I know. Watch out. We got a badass over here.
Yeah.
Type of moment.
Yeah, they somehow covered the spread by the slimmest of slim margins today too.
Any team that ends up down 33-0 to the 2022.
2.5 point spread.
Holy crap!
The Vikings somehow managed to score the 2.5 spread, or cover the 2.5 point spread.
Man, talk about best bets. If you had that game, we're like, oh my God, why did I do that at the very end? You're like, smoking the cigars. Like, I knew it the whole time.
Freaking wreck. I think that's a great way to segue here into quarter number 2, is maybe some bettors will be sweating a little bit less this week. It is DJ's best bets for quarter number 2, giving you plenty of betting odds and, of course, the matchups and other key things you need to look for this week in Week 15. DJ, take it away, man. What else we got to see? I know so much more is left for Sunday, of course.
there's plenty to talk about as well too. Looking back for our best bettings as a conglomerate, looking back throughout the entire year, if you followed every single bet we've taken and bet $1 on each one, you're in the plus so far. So that is good. The parlays have been struggling a bit, but the individual bets we've been doing as a conglomerate. Gone back and looked through it. So we're plus just a little bit. We're like the Vikings, just holding on by a slim margin, but hopefully we can get a little bit more today. So first game we're looking at is the Eagles and the Bears. And for this game, I'm going to go ahead and bring in our good friends over at Outlier as well, too. So that way we could take a look at some of the numbers that we have for that as well, too. And when I look at this game, the one thing that really stands out to me is the Eagles rushing attack as well. As we know, number two in all of the league. And the Bears, well, sitting at about 27, not giving up about 145 yards. So with that, I'm looking at Miles Sanders, the starting running back for the Eagles. And as I look at these trends here, it seems like a safe bet that he's going to crack 70 yards. And you're giving me plus options to go over 70. I'm going to take that one as well to a plus 102 odds. Give me Miles Sanders cracking that 70-yard mark, giving me a little positive play out. And frankly, I just don't trust the Bears defense the way they're playing. I trust Justin Fields, and that is just about it on that team right now. So speaking of the Bears, I think it's only fitting that we go over to Zach to start with this one real quick. Zach, Eagles, Bears, what are we looking to put our money on?
You know what? It's funny. I was kind of having some struggles here, and I'll get this one for the slight kicking bet. We'll lead off with the kicking bet this week, and it's mainly because, much like you, I especially do not trust Chicago's defense anymore. If there was anything left from that Roquan trade that I thought was there, it has disappeared over recent weeks as things have progressed. Jake Elliott has a plus 102 to hit over 7.5 for points for kicking. I think you can hit that. This is Philadelphia firing on all cylinders, and with Chicago also being a bit of a barn burner in their own side of things, I think you can get upwards of that. They're going to be scoring points all day. Give me Jake Elliott.
Sounds good. Now, Kelcey, we'll go to you. Bears, Eagles, what are we looking at money-wise?
Look, last time I picked, I had a Bears game we were picking. I stuck with very safe odds here, and Justin Fields to score an anytime touchdown. I got that. So guess what I'm going to go back with? That's right. Justin Fields scoring an anytime touchdown. Plus 135 odds here at FanDuel. It's happened 100% of the time in the last 5 games. So I feel very, very confident that Justin Fields will be walking into the end zone at one point in time.
If nothing else, I can see it happening in garbage time if this game gets ugly as well, too. But it still counts when it comes to money and betting. So, Jim, will go to you. Eagles, Bears, what are we looking at?
I think we're going to see a letdown in the Eagles in this game. Bears are clearly tanking, but I like the under in the game. 48 and a half is a little too high, so I get the under.
All right, I like it. It's to a lower scoring affair or a one-sided beatdown that doesn't show a lot of back and forth. So next we're going to go to the Titans and the Chargers. So we're going to go to the Titans and the Chargers, a battle of AFC playoff contenders. I'm going to start really quick. I think Justin Herbert, I'm taking the over on 1.5 touchdowns. The Titans are reeling a little bit. I look at their front seven. It's really good at stopping the run, really good at getting after the passer, but the secondary is shaky. And Mike Williams and Keenan Allen finally have played a full game together, so we'll see if that can continue. Jim, we'll go and toss things over to you. Titans versus Chargers, how are we feeling?
Hold on a second. Get off of me, you freaking seat. Yeah, I got gassed. Decided to sit on the cable in my headset. I'm like,
dog cam.
guest picker here.
I was gonna do short. Freaking DJ took it. For me, in the hopes of the Jaguars making the playoffs, I need the Titans to keep losing. So I have Justin Herbert throwing one over 100. What was it, 1.5 at 190? I think it is negative 190. What's the thing on the bet? 195, 1.5. Yeah, I'm taking the same bet as DJ. Score. Come on, Chargers. Don't disappoint me now.
Well, so much at stake besides the money.
Yeah, so ask Chargers fans about disappointed. They have plenty to tell you as well. Kelcey, we'll go to you. Titans, Chargers, how are we feeling?
Look, I'm going to stick on the Chargers side of things. I'm going to go Gerald Everett. Receptions over 3.5. He is at plus 102 odds. It has happened over 80% of the time in the last 5 games. So that means 4 out of the 5 games. And 70% of the time in the last 10 games. So 7 out of 10. Again, feel pretty confident in this one. Over 3.5 receptions for Gerald Everett.
That's a really good one to feel comfortable with, especially because the Chargers offense is weirdly built around checkdowns, despite their having a rocket arm QB. They check it down as much as anybody. So, Zach, we'll go to you. We know this won't be the famous kicking bet, so I'm curious what you have in mind for this one.
No, it won't be a kicking bet, although honestly, I do want to kick myself because you could get Randy Bullock's extra points under for plus 143, and I think that's an ideal one possibly. However, I will say with Keenan Allen, you mentioned him, getting back in the fray, getting comfortable. I'm going to take a gamble on here because it's the Titans secondary. Give me a plus 110 on over 6.5 receptions for Keenan Allen on this. Getting a little bit hot. You want to start getting them cooking again down the stretch. And this is a pretty prime defense in the Titans. One thing that's been their weakness is this is grinded on throughout the year, and something that they have been not addressing too well in recent seasons. Opportune chance to get back and get yourself all geared up. Taking that. It's a bit riskier, I'll admit. It's a higher number, but I feel pretty confident. I think that chemistry is going to be lighting it back up because they want to get him ready to go for that playoff push.
All right, I like it as well too. So next, we're gonna head to our third and final game right now. Is we got the Giants, taking on the Commanders, and for this one, I'm looking at Saquon Barkley under 90.5 total yards. 5 games in a row they've been under that, including a match with the Commanders not that long ago, just a couple of weeks. Teams that finally started to catch on, it's Saquon Barkley or bust for the most part. So, and I think the Commanders are going to be in a very good position to run with this one early and put the Giants in a bit of a hole, since the Giants are a little bit injury-ridden as well, too. So for this one, give me a Saquon under 90.5 total yards. Most of them might even be receiving as well. Kelcey, will go to you on this one first. Giants and the Commies, who you feeling?
Yeah, so I'm sticking with Saquon as well. I'm focused on him, and I'm actually going to go with an anytime touchdown scorer here. Fun fact about Saquon, he has not gone 2 games in a row without scoring a touchdown all season long. He has scored at least 1 touchdown every other game. He is coming off a game where he did not score a touchdown. Therefore, the trend to me says he's going to score at least 1. So give me one touchdown here. I know it's going to be a tough rush defense he's facing against the Commanders, but it's plus 120 odds. Pretty safe bet that he's going to pull off at least 1 touchdown, because somebody's got to score for the Giants.
That's right. By the way, it was under 99.5. My apologies. I misspoke on that one. The 90.5 was okay. So it was 99.5 for mine, by the way. So Zach, we'll go to you on this one. How are we feeling with this game?
Man, I feel like we're all just leaning on Saquon because he's basically the offense at this point for the Giants. And I think that you guys make a good point. They're going to lean on him in the passing game a little bit more because, trust me, the Commanders' rush defense is one of, if not the best in the NFL. You can make a case for that, and it's going to be a tough sledding week for that. So give me a plus 2.5 receptions. plus 3.5 receptions. That's still reasonable to me for Saquon Barkley to hit plus 114 on this one for the day. They're going to lean on him. It can be screens, checkdowns, you name it. They're going to rely on him to make yards as needed in many ways. Daniel Jones will be happy to throw to him. He can get 4 receptions on that day.
Easily can get those, even if they amount to absolutely no yards whatsoever as he is tacked on the line.
It could be garbage, but they need someone, and they don't have too many options besides Darius Slayton in the receiving core right now to throw to.
Maybe we see a Kenny Golladay resurgence, but Jim will round it off with you, Giants and Commanders. Or we staying on the Saquon train?
We're staying on the Saquon train, but I'm not picking Saquon. I'm picking the Giants beating the Commanders. So give me the Giants straight up. At 4.5, I think the Giants go down there and, keep their playoff hopes alive.
All right, I like it. Should be a fun NFC East battle on Sunday night. Who would have thought we'd be saying that at the start of the year, right? But that'll do it for this roundup of bets. Now we're going to head into DJ's best bets, where we're going to put together ourselves a nice little parlay brought to you, of course, by our good friends over at Outlier. Use code Outlier.bet /high-low sports. Get yourself a free 7-day trial. Give it a try. Make betting easier for you. Bet smarter, not harder. We showed a little preview of what it shows early on in the show too. Look at some odds, look at some trends, everything you need to hopefully win some money, just like we're going to try and do right here. Now, looking at the parlay we put together, we're going to start with the Cardinals versus the Broncos. Maybe Russell Wilson plays, maybe he doesn't. Maybe it's the Brett Ripien show. What we do know is Kyler Murray won't be playing, so it's going to be the Colt McCoy show again against that Denver defense. And the Broncos offense in general this year. So overall, I'm going to take the under on that 37 points. I think this has 10 to 13 written all over it. So give me the under there. The Rams taking on Green Bay on Monday night with an 8.5 point spread. Never would have thought this game would be what we're about to see, basically, where the Packers are reeling and the Rams are reeling is an understatement. An 8.5 point spread, though, seems a little outrageous for both these teams that really struggle to score. So look for the Rams, even if they lose, to at least cover 8.5 point spread. And we've seen Baker Mayfield. Maybe he has a resurgence. Maybe he comes back down to earth. Either way, I can't see the Packers scoring enough points to run away with this one. And then one of my favorite ones, too, Tony Pollard going against Jacksonville defense. Tony Pollard has been an absolute machine for the back half of this year. Anytime touchdown for Tony Pollard feels like a safe bet every other week. I feel really comfortable with Tony Pollard scoring against Jacksonville as well, not known for their defense during this run they've been on. Overall, we're looking at plus 461 odds. So once again, click the link in our bio, Outlier.bet /high-low sports. Bet or give it a try. See if you like it. Bet smart and not harder. But that's going to do it for the best bets and our betting segment. We'll pass things over to Jim now for our fantasy football fun.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to week 15 of James B. Is it 15? Hey, I got it right. Yay. It's so exciting. For a lot of you guys, fantasy football, this is either your off season or you're in your playoffs for some leagues. In one of our leagues, I think it means Zach are in playoff start this week, right? And we're both not in our league in playoffs. We're consolation bracket. I think so. With that, let's get going, seeing that we're running out some time. So let's go with the quarterbacks. We got two guys who are on fire right now. Trevor Lawrence with the Jaguars and Joe Burrow. Excuse me. My apologies. Starting this week, Burrow's going up against a Bucs defense that's getting depleted with injuries. And Trevor Lawrence is starting to become who we thought he was going to be as the number one pick from last year. So, gents, let's go with Kelcey, who you start and who you sit on this Sunday afternoon.
Look, I think it's going to be a tough game for Trevor Lawrence all around. So with that said, I think he's going to pull off a victory. I just don't think his stats are going to look great. He is turning into sunshine himself, but obviously he's going to need a little help from the guys around him, Travis Etienne especially. So I'm going to lean a little bit more towards Joe Burrow with those plethora of weapons he has in Cincinnati to take on that Bucs Elling secondary. I think it's safe to say their secondary is still kind of spotty this year. So yeah, give me Joe Burrow in this case.
Zach?
I actually am going to go with Burrow as well. The injuries do affect my choice, of course, with the Bucs. And quite frankly, I like what Trevor Lawrence is doing. However, in terms of their remaining schedule, this was a game I had marked as one that might be a bit rough on them. The Jags have been getting better, but they're going to have some bumps. This will be a bump, in my opinion. Joe's got a pretty better matchup right now on paper. You got to go with him. And he gets T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd possibly back this week as well, with, of course, Jamar Chase.
And DJ.
Yeah, we'll keep this quick. We saw what Brock Purdy did to Tampa Bay last week. Joe Burrow's going to come in at minimum, do the exact same thing, and Dallas's defense can be pretty terrifying. So give me Joe Burrow on this one comfortably.
So let's get to the running backs for week 15. Two guys who are in desperate needs. Najee Harris of the Steelers and New Orleans Alvin Kamara going up against Atlanta. Seasons are still not up. You can say they're battling for playoff spots. Who you got? Who's on fire? DJ.
Wow, I would hate to have to choose either one of these with how the season has been going so far, but I will take Alvin Kamara by a slim hair just because I think he does get involved in the passing game a little bit more. For some reason, they have not used Najee Harris as a receiver much this year, so I'll take Alvin Kamara by the hair of an elbow.
Kelcey.
I must have some hairy elbows because I'm taking some Najee Harris in this one. I think the Steelers need to have a Najee Harris breakout game this week. He's been struggling all season. We kind of seen that sophomore woe from him, whether it be down to the offensive play calling or whatever. But either one of these guys kind of have had a struggling season, so it's not been fun for either one. But I'm going to go Najee Harris just because Carolina's defense been a little bit worse this season.
Zach?
Interesting, because I was going to say that Atlanta's has been more of the porous defense, but maybe I am wrong. Because I'm going to go with Kamara on this one. Credit is divisional game, so that might be the slant if you go with that. But I am going to say that in terms of matchups, I do, and also production, mind you, because Harris has had some bumps in the road with production this year. I got to go with Kamara, leaning on more reps and more possibilities for getting scores and more yards as well.
And getting into the week 15 receivers here today. Let's see. Let's go. Crap, my computer just froze. Never mind. So I'm going to do this. Okay, good. Kelcey, good. CeeDee Lamb against the Jacksonville Jaguars and Mike Evans against Cincinnati. That was almost a big cluster. Thank you, Kelcey, with the win. Kelcey, anyways, you start off this time. Who you got? Is your homeboy CeeDee, or are you going with, you could say, a guaranteed Mike Evans, probably?
Yeah, Mike Evans is definitely going to get all the targets. There's no doubt about that. But if you're going for a guy that's going to have a chance to break out, and who, if he does have a breakout, this could change the entire face of the game, I'm going to go CeeDee Lamb here. That's the guy that if I'm in the playoffs, I'm expecting more chances to boom with CeeDee Lamb than I'm expecting with Mike Evans. Mike Evans, you're kind of just getting the same thing every week. With CD, you've gotten some 20-plus games. You've gotten some 10-point games, but you haven't really gotten anything worse. So you feel pretty safe with that. Mike Evans, you're averaging about 15 every week. So I'm going to go CeeDee Lamb on this one, just trying to get a win in the playoffs.
Zach.
The state of the chemistry between Tom Brady and Mike Evans scares me off from Mike Evans right now. I have to go with CeeDee Lamb at this point. The Jaguars' defense, in terms of a matchup, is also much more appetizing than what the Bucs are going to have against the Bengals. Give me CeeDee Lamb.
DJ.
Yeah, give me CeeDee Lamb. Mike Evans hasn't scored a touchdown in 9 weeks. That's the longest stretch going back to even high school. Like there's something going on in Tampa, and it's not very good. So I'm going to take CeeDee Lamb because there's a good chance this could be a blowout, and that means a lot of opportunities. Or a shootout, which means a lot of opportunities.
That too.
I do want to go back to our running backs for just a second. Zach, to your point about Carolina and Atlanta, Atlanta's 25th against the rush. Carolina is 24th against the rush. So
it's so trash meet trash.
I know it's very splitting hairs.
Splitting hairs there. So yeah, you were right though. Carolina has had a slightly better season against the run.
So entering Week 15's flex picks, we have a guy who went off last week in Evan Ingram. And Cordell Patterson for the Atlanta Falcons, trying to keep the Falcons in the playoff picture in a very nasty NFC South. So, Zach, who you got sitting? Is it the guy who showed out last week or a guy who's consistently shows out each and every week in Cordell Patterson?
I don't know if I trust Evan Ingram to go and be a booming pick once again. And also, again, if we're talking Dallas's defense, this is going to be about Trevor Lawrence trying to survive the pass rush and making sure that he gets out on time. I'm seeing it as Cordell Patterson, who also is one of the more vital components to this offense as a multifaceted attack. Their last matchup against New Orleans, he also went off like crazy. I think you have a good matchup. Give me Cordero, plus with Desmond Ridder. Give another option that you can have that can be multifaceted too. Patterson's my guy. I got to go with him.
DJ?
Desmond Ridder's first start, you got to imagine they're trying to make things easy on him, which should feature a lot of Cordero Patterson as a receiver and a running back as well. So I'll take Cordero Patterson. And Evan Ingram, I'm not putting money on him to double down and do it twice.
Kelcey.
Yeah, I'm going Cordero Patterson. He probably gets upwards of 30 touches in this game, whether that be through the receiving game or rushing. Between the two of them, he's going to get about 30 touches. I'd say 18 rushes, at least 12 passes aimed at him. Whether he catches them or not, different story. But he's going to get 30 chances to touch the ball.
And wrapping up the picks with the defensives team starters for Week 15, the Commanders, or how DJ calls them, the Commies, going up against the Giants, and the Chiefs against Houston. Speaking of the Commies, DJ, you go.
Why am I speaking of the Commies? What are you trying to say now? I mean, damn. Like, where did this come
I thought he was talking about Houston as the Commies.
Hammer and sickle, yes.
Wow. Okay, so let me bounce back from that. Now we're gonna avoid that side of the bracket. I'm gonna take the Chiefs.
I have not drank enough vodka for this.
I've not played enough Call of Duty Zombies for this. I'm gonna go with Kansas City going against Houston. Houston's a train wreck right now. Kansas City's defense, while it's had its struggles here and there, they still get after the passer pretty well. So I'll take Kansas City's defense this week.
Kelcey.
Yeah, give me Kansas City. Nick Bolton has been absolutely fantastic against the run this season. Absolutely stepping up into that middle linebacker role. And the rest of Kansas City's defense, that's not so bad. So yeah, Kansas City for sure in this one against a pathetic Houston offense.
Zach.
Kansas City, Dameon Pierce is going on IR right now, and I'll be honest with you, that even though Commanders Giants could make for some possibilities, those two are going to find some way to score points, just like last night. They both put up 20. I don't even see that happening with Houston against this team. They are rudderless, and the fact they put 23 up against the Cowboys was something in its own right last week. They're not going to do that again. Give me Kansas City.
All right. And wrapping up this week's fantasy football picks is my boom pick of the week, and this is more me being biased because I need this guy to go off. And even the dog wants to join with the pick. Justin Herbert will go off on Tennessee because Trevor Lawrence went off on Tennessee last week. And Herbert right now is a little bit ahead of Trevor Lawrence and overall as a quarterback, so expect Herbert to go off again against the Titans. Say hello, Max.
Aw. Show dog.
Well, if that's not the cone of shame, I don't know what is.
Tell me about it, yeah. So, Kelcey, let's wrap up the picks and wrap up Week 15 for us here on the Fourth Four.
All right, that you heard the man. It's the last segment, quarter four, primetime pick'ems. It's my favorite time of the show. Not my favorite time though when I talk about what happened the last week, because let's just say life throws you lemons and you try to make lemonade and you turn into lemon seltzer. If you guys have ever had it, it's awful. Yeah. So last week I went 6-6. Jim 7-5. Zach and DJ tied at 9-3, which continues DJ's lead in the season. 119, 71-2. Because while the Colts have not tied twice in the season, we have had 2 ties this season. Zach 118, 72-2 as well. Jim 109, 81-2, pulling ahead for the battle of mediocrity here at the bottom, as I am now solidly in last, 108, 82-2. Not a fun time for me at all down here. DJ, you didn't get a chance to talk about your lead so far last week. So you know what? We're going to give you a full screen on this one. You get a chance to talk about your lead.
I would be ecstatic about it, but I barely hung on to it last week. And if we learned anything, it's that even a 33-point lead is not safe. So I'm going to enjoy this. It's going to be fun, and I'm going to be really sad when I fall back down to second place or even third place next week. But it's a fun ride, and I can at least say Zach didn't get to hold the lead the entire season from week 1. He only got 14. He only got 13 out of the 15 weeks so far in first place. So we're coming down to a race down the stretch here.
Fair enough. Jim, do you want to take a moment to talk about how you finally got yourself out of last place?
There's someone below me? What?
No.
Hey, I'm third. Yay.
All right. Well,
only 1 week. After
there is another run on that ladder.
Jim's about to get muted for permanently here. Anyways, we're going to get into our primetime picks, which means we're going to talk about the primetime games here this week. And my favorite time, the island pick, which I had to find a way to get an island this week because Jim didn't seem to want to let me have a chance at an island pick. I guess he doesn't want to lose this whole race or something. I don't know. Well, whatever the case may be. But we're going to start with the Bucks Bengals here. Cincinnati traveling to nice and warm Tampa Bay, getting out of that snow or cold weather in Cincinnati. And guys, we're all going Cincinnati. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. But Jim, as the resident Tom Brady stan, I am shocked that you didn't take Tampa Bay. Is this down to you not wanting to lose the pick'ems, or is this down to you actually not trusting Tampa Bay?
I'm not trusting Tampa Bay. They've been playing terrible football. Brady's not Brady. The receivers can't hold on to the ball, and their defense can't stop anybody. So, yeah, that defense made Brock Purdy look like Tom Brady a couple of weeks ago.
Fair enough.
I don't want to talk about it.
It's okay. Your analogy was bad. It's okay. We accepted it. DJ, any way that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can pull off a victory here against Cincinnati, or is it?
Do Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase catch the flu and then not show up to the game? Then I'm saying there's a chance. But other than that, the way things have been going, highly likely, especially with rumors that Tom Brady's literally changing the offense the day before the games. Does that continue, or is that just a farce? We'll have to wait and see. But give me the Bengals running away.
All right, fair enough. So we're going to move on to the Washington Commanders against the New York Giants. And we're actually split 50-50 here. Zach, you and DJ both going with Washington. And Jim, we are both going with New York. I feel like this is a pick that you only made so you wouldn't lose out on the pick 'em. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But you know what, Zach? Why is Washington going to win this game?
I think Washington's going to win this game just because they've been able to ride at least relatively hot, and they haven't had their fading stars kind of get knocked out week by week with injuries on the other side. The main thing is, I think you got to give props to what the Giants have been able to accomplish this season. The thing is though, they got to get healthy. And if they're able to get to the playoffs, they'll have to will themselves even more so than what they've dug deep throughout this year. Washington has pretty much any of their key pieces either coming back or fully healthy right now, and I think are more on the up and up swing if we're talking like a stock market pricing, in my opinion. Even with Taylor Heineke being the up and down guy he is, to me, you got better receiver options on the other side to buoy that, and that defense for the Commanders is a triumphant force. They're going to, I think, get this win. No ties this time. It's going to be a Commanders win because of that defense.
No ties, huh? Well, we'll have to wait and see if history's made with ties. That might be a complete possibility, too. That could completely mess up our entire pick'ems. Jim, Giants are going to win because what?
I think the Giants are a better team right now. They got the better quarterback. They got the better running back. And them in recent memories haven't learned how to finish off games where the Commanders have struggled to finish off games. And from that tie from the last couple weeks ago, that was more of the Commanders like, dear God, we got a tie, than, oh my God, the Giants were, come back to win. Giants are the ones that tied it, and the Commanders barely hold on to held the game. I think the Giants are that much better than the Commanders.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm a Zach. Interesting take. I have no reason why I picked the Giants other than the fact that I can't pick Washington. Like it literally hurts me to pick Washington.
Oof.
So I just can't. Honestly, it hurts to pick both of these teams. So
No comrade.
yeah, I just picked one of them. So next we're going to the Monday night capper here. It's Green Bay taking on Los Angeles in Green Bay. We're all going Green Bay. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. Quick question. Christian Watkins, DJ. Christian Watkins, will he have over 2 touchdowns in this game?
Christian Watson will have 1 touchdown. I'll give him 1, but I don't think there's going to be enough points to go around for him to get more than 1. I think it'll be a points at a premium, so I'll give him 1.
Okay. Zach, will Khalil Mack end up with a sack on Aaron Rodgers at all? Or Jordan Love? If Jordan Love is Jordan Love going to be starting? Jordan Love?
Well, I was going to tell you, Khalil Mack's not on.
Oh yeah, no,
Rams.
not Khalil Mack. Sorry, no, just forgetting Aaron Donald. My apologies.
You're talking Aaron Donald, and yes,
my
Aaron
brain
Donald
went to a different game, guys. I'm sorry.
No, yes, Aaron Donald will get at least one sack. I know the teams are starting, as they've been in recent years, more and more game planning around Donald.
Aaron Donald's actually out for this game too.
Well, I give up. Will there be a sack on the Green Bay quarterback in this game at all?
Yes, Leonard Floyd will do it.
There you go. All right, thank you.
Former Bear. It'll be even that sweeter. Except Green Bay will win, and I'll have my skin stinging for a week because I picked them, of course.
Fair enough. I feel you. Jim, is there any way LA pulls off an upset? I know DJ said they're gonna cover the spread, but can the Rams pull off an upset?
Never say never when Baker Mayfield's the quarterback.
Okay, dangerous.
Wait a minute.
You're either going to get Baker Mayfield from a couple weeks ago, Baker Mayfield from 2017, Baker Mayfield from Oklahoma, or Baker Mayfield when he was in Carolina. Which he is. If you're saying Kirk Cousins is the definition of mid, Baker Mayfield's not that far.
No, Baker Mayfield is the definition of a heart monitor. It goes up and it goes down, and there is no in between. You don't want it to go in between. Yeah, like so. That's what Baker
games
is,
games like last week when you're injecting pure adrenaline into a person to save them. Oh!
And honestly, if you look at this, was like a preseason pick'em for the NFC Championship game at one point.
Not my NFC Championship game, but I digress. We're gonna move on to my favorite time. That is the Island of the Week. Last week I did not get my actual Island pick, but I did get an Island pick correct. So I'm not totally losing out on that one. That was actually the Jaguars I got correct. However, I missed the pick on the Steelers as my actual Island. So ladies and gentlemen, this week's Island pick starting with right? Just like it's such a beautiful island.
Soothing.
Yeah, 50-50 on the season. So we're hoping that we can get back into the positives here. And I have to rely on the lowly Las Vegas Raiders to get this. And I really only did this because Jim left me no choice. There was only one way I could pick a game, and it was the Patriots, picking against the Patriots. And honestly, I feel okay with picking against the Patriots because which Patriots team is going to show up? Is it going to be the Mac Jones, our run game effing sucks, Mac Jones, or is it going to be the Mac Jones that throws 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Devontae Parker looks great? Like which one is it going to be? Guys, tell me why the Las Vegas Raiders are not going to win. Zach, we'll start with you.
I just don't. You want me to be honest with you? This is the type of game where I would see the Raiders winning earlier in the season, except of course they would blow it off later off in the fourth quarter. That being said, too, the Patriots defense is a force to be reckoned with. It's been, I think, getting slowly better and realizing that they have to take over the main role in this offense. I don't know. Mac Jones might have a few more opportunities against the Raiders because I don't trust the Raiders defense as well, but he's not going to be the main reason that they win this game. It's going to be defensive slugfest, and I think the Pats will, of course, enforce their will, similar to what they did to the Cardinals last week. Eventually, they take over.
Okay, DJ, 10 seconds or less. Can the Raiders pull this one off?
Maybe they're basically the AFC Vikings without some of the luck. So Mac Jones will shred them like he did the Vikings defense.
Fair enough, Jim. 10 seconds or less. Patriots, are they going to pull this one off big or barely?
Well, Patriots have a defense, and you just need a defense to stop the Raiders.
All right, Debbie Downers continue their trend of being Debbie Downers. All right, I love it. Thank you, guys. As always, we appreciate you guys tuning in to 4th and 4. We will see you guys next week.